next guest is a man who has worked with a huge number of names you'll be more than familiar with on how they use their voice. Dr. Voice is his name, otherwise known as Anthony Wade, and comes from Rochester. Anthony, hello.
Hello there, Adam. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
The reason we play the Bee Gees there, that's kind of looking back to the early stage of your career. You worked with the Bee Gees.
Yes, I did, yeah. Basically, I was poured in by the drummer, Jeff Bridges, and I shared quite a bit with Maurice Gibb at the time, who I was probably more friendly with him than working with him. We I did sort of therapy type stuff really in those days. I was sort of listening to people like a therapist would, and I spent quite a few times with Maurice, because he just split up with Lulu, and we'd become very friendly. And after that, I then joined the Bee Gees backing band, and I went on stage that night at the Subiaco Oval in front of 33,000 people, which was an awesome experience. And I remember Munga Jerry being there at the time, and that was where we sort of forged some sort of friendship.
How did you get from doing that kind of thing to what you're doing now then? Because you don't like to describe yourself as a voice coach. It's more elements of being a life coach in what you do.
Yeah, well, what it is, basically, I couldn't sing to save my life. I couldn't, I didn't have a voice when I first started singing at 18, 19 years old in those days. And then I realised, why can't I sing? This was very annoying. So I went on the path of discovery on voice, and I started to realise the voice is a very powerful instrument. And it was through learning to sing, and many singing teachers could never show me how to do it. I then realised, hang on, this is a fantastic thing, this voice. Why don't I work with my own voice and see what I can do to get it better? And that's what I did.
So half of your job almost then is to bring out people's confidence.
Yes, most people have what we call mental blocks towards their own self, in their own thinking, and what I do, I remove blocks. I don't class myself as a singing teacher as such, but I use singing techniques based on years of teaching singing, and I amalgamate that with people's inability to do something. They fear, or they can't do it, and then what I do, I remove the block, and which I've done with just about everybody I meet. I take everybody through the same process. What's your dream? What's your goal? What do you want to create? And I create a program for them to actually make that happen. And they work on themselves, and they bring themselves into that awareness, and all of a sudden things start happening for them, as we've seen with many different people.
Well, we should point out this is not the first time you and I have met. The last time we met was in a very bizarre morning outside of Rochester Station, when you coached me in the rain to sing, to busk in front of people at Rochester Railway Station.
And you didn't do too bad, I must say.
Well, it was all right. Yeah, it was an experience.
Yeah.
But what we did that day was a perfect example then of people who have got a voice in them. I mean, I do this for a living, so I have a voice that I'm able to use, but it's the confidence to use it in a different way in front of people, isn't it?
It's awareness to the sound that you have, and most people aren't. Everybody just talks from the top of their mind out through their mouth, and then they're talking, and they don't actually feel what they're saying. Most singers do the same, and that's why they become what we call karaoke singers. To be able to use your voice in a very focused way with the imagination of what you want to create from that is more powerful. It's your subconscious is on your side when you're doing that. And that's what I do with my singing program with various different people.
Let's talk about someone that you have worked with more recently, in terms of one of your more recent clients, the man who is currently at #1 in the singles charts with an incredible voice, Sam Smith.
Sam, when he came to me, he was 16, fantastic voice. Very natural, beautiful soul, very lovely man, and we shared, well, probably over the last 3 or 4 years. The last time I saw him was about 9 months ago, before the fame hit him, and of course he's moved on from me, the likes of me. But he certainly had an amazing voice, and what I did with him was help him remove blocks to his thinking, how to create his desires to become more, involved in what he's doing. Because at 16, you're not quite sure where you want to go in life, and so I helped him from that, from the life coaching point of view, but worked with him with his voice on singing techniques, which gave him an edge and an ability to do what he does. I mean, he's always had a great voice, but I think to this day he still uses my techniques, I believe so.
Anthony Wade from Rochester, otherwise known as Dr. Voice, is my guest this afternoon. On Sam's journey to the point he's at now, he worked with a vocal coach who's from Kent, Anthony Wade, otherwise known as Dr. Voice, who is my guest this afternoon. So describe for us the kind of stuff you went through then with Sam. What procedure do you go through when you've got a singer there who maybe has the confidence issue? What do you go through with them?
Well, with Sam, he didn't have a lack of confidence in his singing because he had a lovely voice, natural lovely voice. But sometimes he'd have problems with his voice and would have to overcome certain trips like most singers do. So I would give him techniques like the bubble technique, which is which enables you to reach a higher note. With the high falsetto voice, you would actually move it into what I call the pharyngeal, up through the teeth, like that sort of thing, where you've heard Sam do that. Well, the voice goes up into what we call the pharynx, and that takes a bit of practice. And and these are techniques that you have to get them to practice and focus on until they've mastered it, and then they naturally sing with it. And it's called making a pathway. Once you make a pathway of sound, you can do it. The exercise gives you the pathway in order for you to sing the song. And it's the same way with your brain. You need a pathway in your brain and how to think. I want to be one of the greatest singers ever come out of Great Britain. If you think that and believe that, you make a pathway for that to become a reality. And that's what I'm doing with a lot of my pupils. One in particular is Georgia, who's a young girl. She came to me when she was about 10, and she had one of these voices which was la, 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 girly voice. But I hope we're going to play something of hers because you'll see that she's changed drastically. She's now 16, but the recording you may play for me is actually when she was 14. She learnt the song off in the car on her way down to Pete Moody's studio, where I was in Chatham, and she came there and sang it straight off, and it was called Black Heart.
Georgia Chandler, should we play a bit?
Let's play a bit. You can hear how she's developed, yeah.
It's Georgia Chandler who you're working with at the moment.
Yes, she's probably my next Sam Smith, I would say, because her and Rob Young from the male side. Rob Young is a fantastic singer, sounds like John Legend as well. I'm working with Rob. But what I'm doing with Georgia is lovely. She writes her own material. She's an incredible and talented writer, similar to Sam. Sam was writing with me in the studio. He'd come up with ideas and play them to me. And the same thing is happening. I'm getting deja vu because the same thing is happening with Georgia. She sits there and starts writing. Oh, look, what do you think of this, Doc? And she play this lovely melody from some idea she's got out of nowhere. And it's like, oh my God, this is as good as Pixie Lott. This is as good as any other track that's out there. And she's got such a talent. So I'm very much behind her all the way. She's fantastic.
So are you working with these people on a one-to-one basis, or is it part of a group? How does it work?
One-to-one. It's always one-to-one's best because I get a chance to go into the psyche, go deeper into the subconscious with them. The way that I work with people is so they can remove any blocks they have about what they want to create in their music or in their life. So that's very important, essential to do one-to-one. I do groups, though.
Let's talk, though, about... Well, I'm fascinated with how you translate all these skills to... not to singers. Because you're working with, on a kind of sort of corporate level with huge companies on how they can boost the use of their voice and the way they tell stories and the way they put things across.
Absolutely. Your voice is the soundtrack to your life. It's the echo of who you really are. If you're not coming from a congruent, authentic part in you, people pick it up in business and they feel that you're self-conscious or you're not playing with a full deck. They can pick that up. So what I do, I attach business people, chairmen of companies, account managers. I've worked with Vodafone recently where I took a whole group of people to attune them to the sound in their voice so they feel so congruent with who they are that what they say is very real and persuasive and sincere. And that is what people want to hear these days, honesty and sincerity. And that comes from the sound in your voice.
My guest this afternoon is Anthony Wade from Rochester, Dr. Voice, as you may know him. One person he's worked with of late, in recent years, was this lady, the brilliant Pixie Lott. This is Cry Me Out, BBC Radio Kent. Pixie Lot and Cry Me Out. It is BBC Radio Kent. Adam here until 5. My guest is Dr. Voice, otherwise known as Anthony Wade from Rochester. And you worked with Pixie Lot at Italia Conti.
That's right, yeah. I remember leaning on the piano. She was only 15 at the time, and she put her hands on her face, either side of her face, leaning on the piano. She went, "Doc, tell me everything you know." And because she was so eager to do the techniques and learn to get her voice into a better position. She was a great singer then also. But it wasn't long after that she was flown away to America, and off she went with the record company, and she's not stopped since. You know, fantastic.
Let's drop some names then. The first one that I'm really intrigued by is your connection with Dame Edna. Tell me more about that.
Oh, darling, how lovely to be here today. I used to imitate Barry Humphries, really.
You do it very well.
No, what it was with Barry, we became friends because I used to imitate him, and we connected at one time in a particular area, and I said, "We've ever thought of doing a single?" "What a good idea." Next minute, he, before I knew it, I put the single together called "You Can Be a Megastar," and he was going to sing on it, and the Spice Girls were going to record it with him, and I had all this set up for him while he went on holiday, and it was so exciting because the whole industry was cooked about it. You know, we had Anthony Hopkins, Joan Collins, everybody was ready to be in the video with him with blue rinses on to show that, you know, he's the megastar above them all, and it was quite a wild thing. And basically, but he had to go to America and things didn't work out, and we never actually in the end recorded the song. But I often think about going back to him, but he's now retired, unfortunately. So
there could be maybe a comeback. The comeback single could be one of yours.
Well, you never know.
There's an idea. Is there anyone in particular that you would love to work with? Someone whose voice you admire, or you think maybe you could help or would love to help?
Well, everybody has got a voice. I don't have that going on in me, because everybody that's in front of me, even you, if you said to me, "Doc, I want to be a great singer. I've had enough. I don't want to be a DJ anymore," and you were sincere, I could take you and get you singing beyond your wildest imagination. Within a year or less than that, you would be doing something you never dreamt you could ever possibly do. And that's what I do. I have this innate desire and drive to help a person who's sincere and real enough, who wants to be a singer. I will get you to where you want to go. That's my whole programming. So there's no particular person. At the moment, I'm loving working with Georgia. I'm loving working with Rob Young, who's got fantastic voices, and I'm watching them change and grow before me. And, you know, and a lot of people that I teach that come to me now, it's fantastic. They're all growing and changing, and it's wonderful to watch that. So there's no, it's everybody, really. Anybody who's anybody.
Let's talk about how you helped George Michael on his Japanese tour a while back.
Yeah, I got a call from a friend of mine, Gary Trainer, who was actually on the phone to me. He said, "Look, I've got George on the phone in Japan. He's lost his voice." And I said, "Oh dear." Anyway, he asked me some advice, and I gave him some advice to do some techniques, you know, using the voice to go beyond the problem he had. He had an impediment in the voice, and it was based on not using it properly. You know, drinking the wrong food, eating the wrong foods, drinking beer. All this stuff doesn't help the vocal cords. So just a little bit of advice on that, actually. But it went through, and he did the Japan tour in the end because of it. So he worked it through. That was great to see that happen.
Let's play some George Michael now. This is "I Can't Make You Love Me," BBC Radio Kent. George Michael, I Can't Make You Love Me. It is BBC Radio Kent Anthony Wade, Dr. Voice from Rochester is my guest this afternoon. We heard briefly how you've worked with George Michael over the phone there. That song, of course, sung beautifully by Jamie Johnston on The Voice, which ties in very nicely to another project you've been working on fairly recently.
Yeah, well, no, over the years I worked with Dan Wise on Training Them Live, who runs Rock School for Greenacre School. And what he's done, he's honed an incredible mass of musicians over the years, and it worked with them, kids that couldn't sing, kids that couldn't play an instrument, and over the holiday periods he gets them all playing, and he puts them on at the Rochester Castle, Under Siege he calls it, and it's fantastic. And Jamie Johnston was one of his people that he helped, and I just take my hat off to someone like Dan, who, you know, for me, in fact came to me many years ago for singing lessons himself, and that's why we got to know each other. But incredible work Dan has done for Training Them Live, it's called, and anybody that wants to do music locally, really interested, that's the place to go.
You must get a real buzz out of helping people.
Absolutely, why not? Otherwise we don't have our own planet each, wouldn't we? The idea is that we're all together as human beings, so why not give a hand? If you can, why not?
If people want to get in touch with you, find out more about what you do or what you have done, where do they need to go online?
drvoice.tv.
Thank you so much for coming in. Fascinating. I could talk to you for a whole 3-hour show.
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, ask me in again.
It's one for another time, like a bank holiday special or something.
Yeah, lovely.
Let's see it.
Be nice. Thank you very much for having me.
Adam and the Doc. It's got a nice ring to it, that. Brilliant. Thank you very much for coming in. Anthony Wade from Rochester, Dr. Voice. Fantastic. Listen, for the next 2 weeks, it's not me, it's Tim Adicott sitting in for me. I'm off on holiday for a couple of weeks.